Australian Red Cross is providing humanitarian aid to those people affected by the recent devastating floods in Queensland and New South Wales. And joining me live is Poppy Brown, Red Cross Director of State and Territories. Thank you so much for your time. Now, Poppy, you have the Red Cross Emergency Response Team. You've assisted thousands of people in these recent floods. How are people going? Because there's so many factors, aren't there? There's mental health, there's the physical, there's the cleanup yet again. There's so much to consider.
Yeah, and as you just reported there, you know, some people have been evacuated out of their homes for the second or even third time. So many people are actually in the situation where they haven't had to just clean out their home once, they're doing it a second time. So people generally are exhausted, I have to say. Communities are exhausted. This, you know, has been going on for the last few weeks, and lots of people have lost their homes, huge levels of damage, lost pets. You know, there's all sorts of trauma that people have experienced over the last few weeks. And, you know, as we've seen with the weather forecast, things aren't looking great going forward, and lots of people are still in that situation where evacuation warnings in place. So, yeah, it's a pretty tough time for people at the moment.
So, Poppy, what do members of the Red Cross do to support people in need, and what kind of qualifications do the people have, including the volunteers?
Yeah, so we've had about 550 volunteers and staff helping people out. So that's helping people out in the evacuation centres and also now recovery centres as well. So our volunteers are local people from those local communities, and often their own homes have been impacted as well, but they're out there helping people. We take anyone as a volunteer that wants to join us, but we do train them up. All of our volunteers are trained in psychological first aid, which is basically about helping people cope with trauma and about what to do in a disaster. So we're so grateful for all those local volunteers that help us, but we're always looking for more. So if anybody is keen to join us as a Red Cross volunteer, we're always welcoming new volunteers to come and help.
Describe what happens in the recovery centres and the evacuation centres, because, you know, there's hundreds of people all piled up together, sleeping next to strangers, you know, just devastated, emotional. What happens there, and what do people at the Red Cross do to support these people?
Yeah, so as you said, it is a really tricky situation, you know, and evacuation centres are people's last resort. So if they can stay with friends and family, you know, if they can get there with the roads are open, then they can. If not, they come to an evacuation centre. And what they'll find is that Red Cross will be there to meet them at the evacuation centre, and there are other agencies also helping out at the evacuation centre as well. We'll help get them food, you know, something to drink, you know, somewhere to stay, you know, sit down and help them cope with the, you know, the trauma they've just experienced, and also help them access other support they need, whether that's, you know, nappies for the baby, or, you know, some people come to some areas of evacuation centre with their animals, and so there's always a place or you know, in that area or near that area where you can bring your animals and things like that. So we're there to really help people at their, you know, their highest moment of need, and you know, all the agencies are working together to really, you know, make that as positive an experience as possible and keep people safe and dry until they can go back to their homes.
We do often hear the word resilience, but we are also hearing the word broken. People are just at their wits' end, and they are broken. What are you hearing, and compared to, you know, other disasters over other years? I mean, it's a very individual situation, of course, but you know, the threshold has just gone beyond for so many people.
Yeah, look, I'd say for this particular disaster that this is in the context of some of the other disasters we've already unfortunately had over the past few years. So for some people, they may have also been impacted by bushfires. There was also a flood last year in a lot of similar locations. And of course, everybody's had to deal with COVID as well. So this has come on top of all of those things. And some people, as I say, have had to evacuate multiple times from their homes as well. So it is the sort of the although communities are very strong, people are exhausted, and, you know, their coping, you know, levels are being sorely tested. So, you know, as I say, Red Cross has been helping out. All our volunteers are trained in that psychological first aid, but also there's a huge amount of mental health support being made available to those communities through both the state health services, but also through other agencies, like Lifeline and Beyond Blue. So we do encourage people to reach out for support, because it's really normal to have feelings of anxiousness, or to feel down, and to not be able to cope in these situations. This is not a normal situation for people, so it's expected that people will go through a whole range of emotions, and there's a lot of support out there for people. So we do encourage people to reach out, because it is tough for people.
And we are, on a brighter note, seeing the good in people and the sense of community and being able to share their stories. So many volunteers, so many children at their schools donating stationery and money and having their own little auctions, to help their fellow Australians. One that is happening this weekend is the charity auction at the Formula One, and there's going to be money donated to the Red Cross. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so fantastic. And a huge thank you to Daniel Ricciardo and the Grand Prix, because there's a specially designed helmet and signed by Daniel Ricciardo that's being auctioned off. And, the proceeds from that are coming to the Australian Red Cross Flood Appeal. So that's just fantastic. And such a huge thank you to everyone, from celebrities like Daniel through to, as you say, the kids with their pocket money, and the mum and dad, giving money to the Flood Appeal. And anyone who donates to the Flood Appeal, that money, goes to helping people in disasters. We're also giving out cash relief to people impacted in the floods at the moment, and we'll also be there for years to come, helping those communities to recover. So, every dollar counts, and so massive thank you to the Grand Prix this weekend for pitching in as well.
Well, yeah, part of our mental health is to certainly be entertained and have our spirits lifted, which is certainly what a lot of people are going to experience on the weekend. And we look forward to watching that auction, and hopefully plenty of money continues to be donated to the Red Cross. Poppy Brown, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks ever so much.